Hey y'all, it's Lindsay. I am going to share with you a single serve bread pudding recipe that I make in my air fryer. Protein sparing modified fast bread, Wonder Bread, Maria Emmerich's egg bread, egg white bread, all of those names, that has been sweeping YouTube for the past 6+ months, possibly even longer. So many creators here on the YouTube have created tons of different ways to use the egg white bread batter in making donuts, in making different like dressings, like a holiday dressing, using it as buns, using it as rolls, using it as hot pockets, all of these various things. And one of the ways that it has been used is to make bread pudding and make it in a high protein way. Anita over at Ketogenic Woman, she did a bread pudding with the Psmf bread, and she made hers kind of, it was definitely a keto version, not a Psmf version. And I also am not making a Psmf version because I will be adding a couple of egg yolks into my custard piece of my recipe. But the idea of bread pudding, I love it. I'm the only one in my family who really loves bread pudding, and I don't want to make a giant pan of bread pudding that I wind up having to either eat within, a week by myself, or that winds up going bad. It doesn't freeze very well in my experience, so I don't want to do that and wind up wasting ingredients or wasting food. But one thing that does work well in my family situation is for me to make individual single serving bread puddings in a ramekin that is oven safe back here in my air fryer. And I can prep up a few of these at the beginning of a week or whenever I reach, a point in a loaf of Psmf bread where I'm like, you know what, this is kind of a wonky shaped loaf, or it wasn't quite as successful as others. It's not going to work for me to make toast or egg sandwiches or whatever the case may be. So I can save that to cut up into cubes to either make croutons or to make into bread pudding, which is exactly what I intend on doing now. Let me show you what I do. Okay, using the leftover loaf of some protein sparing modified fast bread that I had made, this one turned out really wonky. Did not make for good toast, but it will make for good bread pudding cubes because I can make the sizes fairly even and equal, even if the slices are extremely uneven. So I'm going to slice all of this up into cubes. Okay, with all of this ready to go, I'm going to get out some single serve ramekins. I just have these. I believe they're from Target, the Threshold brand. I think they might be maybe about a cup and a half, 2 cups, maybe they're 2 cups. I bet they're 2 cups volume on this one. So I have a few of those. And I have one more if I need it, but I'm going to just sort of distribute some of my cubes into my ramekins here. Okay, so now what I need to do is make my custard filling for these bread puddings. Got 3 eggs, some almond milk, okay, I am going to crack up my 3 eggs. Ugh, classic. Okay, toss these and go wash my hands. At this point, I am not too cautious or careful with what I am measuring and how. I think I'm going to do, since I have 3 bread puddings here, I'm going to do about 3 tablespoons of my allulose. And I'm also going to give it the tiniest, that might have been a 1/4 teaspoon of some stevia liquid. All right, I'm also gonna add some vanilla. And then I have some pink salt. I like this for baking because it's really fine. I like to pinch it like that so that way I can make sure that it gets all broken up and it's not clumpy. Okay. Running low on the almond milk, but right there's about 1.5 cups of almond milk. One of my favorite things that I've been using in my kitchen baking lately has been the beef gelatin. I like this Zint brand. It's good quality. I have always been, I've always had good results, I should say. It's grass-fed gelatin. That's the only ingredient in this container, and it works really well for me. Okay, repeated myself much. I think I'm going to probably do opposite side, dip in. That is about 1/2 teaspoon right there. I sprinkle it over the surface. And I'm going to let that just sit there and bloom. Whenever you have gelatin, it's best to let it bloom in some cool temperatured liquid before you whisk it in. That way it can kind of absorb all of that water and not get clumpy, or not water, liquid. Liquid is the word, my goodness. Okay, while that sits there and blooms, I'm gonna clean up. Okay. So I tried to evenly distribute my custard mixture throughout all of the bread puddings. This one obviously got more liquid than the others, so we might be able to siphon a little bit of this liquid off and sort it out over here as needed. This one also had excess. Now that everything is covered in my custard, I'm going to take some plastic wrap and cover each one of these little ramekins. I'm going to put all 3 of these in my refrigerator and let them sit overnight. So a couple of these will get to sit a couple of days longer just because this is a single serve and I will only cook 1 each day. This really allows the bread not crumbs, but the bread cubes to absorb that custard mixture so that it makes a good bread pudding. Pisori air fryer, love this thing, have had it for several years now. I'm gonna go ahead and set it on preheat and grab my ramekin of bread pudding. Okay, this thing is finished preheating. I just made these about 30, 40 minutes ago, and usually I do like to let them sit up in the refrigerator overnight so that they fully absorb, the bread cubes absorb that custard mixture, but I really wanna have one right now and I wanna show you that. Letting it sit in the fridge for not quite an hour, it will be fine. I sometimes will make up a batch of these, like several of them, and immediately bake off one of these in here in my air fryer. And then other times I will let them sit overnight. Other times, it's very fluid. There's no one right way that I do this. But the longer you let it sit in the refrigerator, the more the cubes will absorb that custard. But now I'm gonna pop it in my air fryer. Carefully so as you don't burn your hands. And usually it pops up at 350 for 15 minutes. I'm gonna start that, and in 15 minutes I will check on this. Okay, it is finished here on my air fryer. We'll take a little look here. It is lovely and golden. Whoop! Try not to do that. There we go. I see a little bit of liquid here. I could let this go further, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to let it sit on a trivet for about 10 to 15 minutes to let it cool down, because right now trying to eat this, I would burn the inside of my mouth. I actually think that absorbed and cooked the custard really, really well. Like I said, I'm going to let that sit for about 10 to 15 minutes and come back and check it. It has been about 10 minutes since I let this cool over here on my trivet. It is warm to the touch, but if I hold it with my hand without the pot holder, I will burn myself. So I let this get a little bit brown. It looks super dark in the viewfinder here, but my custard is fully cooked if I can actually get a bite. Herp. Okay, so let's see if it'll choose this to focus on. Yes. Okay, so my custard is fully cooked and it doesn't look terribly dry, which is exciting. Yes. That's good. The vanilla adds a lot to it. I do this sometimes with cinnamon. Sometimes I will take some cinnamon and erythritol that I've made into like a cinnamon sugar type thing, sprinkle it over the top as soon as it comes out of the air fryer. I have added cinnamon to my actual custard mixture, all of that jazz. But so basically with this, 15 to 20 minutes in my air fryer, and then I let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, sometimes 15. I go get ready for the day. I manage that. And when I get back, this is usually ready to eat. I have put some whipped cream on top, but I'm trying to reduce the amount of dairy. Using almond milk works beautifully for me, especially having that gelatin in there. I have tried it without gelatin in the past. It does not seem to set up quite as well. I think you could probably use xanthan gum or glucomannan powder as well. I would probably only use about a 1/4 teaspoon for the amount of custard mixture I had, which was about 2 cups. It's good stuff. The really nice thing is that this is loaded with protein and I can still feel comforted as if I was eating junk food for breakfast. I'm here for it. That is all I have to share with you today. If you give this a try in your air fryer, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. If you're not subscribed, I would love for you to do so. If you don't want to, much respect. If you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down to let me know if this is the kind of content you enjoy or do not enjoy, that would be helpful. And I hope to see you in my next video.